So just fellowship and talk with your neighbor for a couple minutes while we get the slides repaired. Randy's working as hard as he can. So thank you for being here. And I guess I can go ahead and maybe do an introduction. First off, thank you for being here, whether in person or live streaming, to our first town hall meeting of the year. My name is David Boatfield, and I am the congregational lay leader here at First Church. We're glad you're here. Joining me today are the laity leaders of our church representing their respective committees. Kevin Kleinhan for Church Council, Michelle Schrader for Finance, Nancy Bowen for Trustees, Brenda Zimmerman for SPRC, and Susan Babb for Missions. We're also joined by Reverend Cammie Gaston, who will give us a follow-up to General Conference. So that's kind of where we are. Why don't you pray with me as we begin this meeting? Please pray. Father, we're thankful for this day, for the opportunity to be here and to share your work together. We give thanks for this group of leaders, their commitment, their dedication to this church. Keep us aware, oh God, that everything we do is for the glory of your church and your kingdom and your will for not only this church, but for earth. And we give you thanks for it all. For it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So like I said, give us about 2 minutes and we will begin our presentations. So talk amongst yourselves. It's too quiet in here. For the sake of time, I think we're going to go ahead and begin and just have each committee head present from what they have, and as the slides become available, they'll be shown. So first off, I'd like to ask Kevin Kleinhan of Church Council to come up and give his presentation.
Hello, church. Thank you. I want to add my thank you to being here. I appreciate it. And before I talk about the details, I thought we'd do a little class participation. Raise your hand who knows what the FUMC Plano vision statement says. Okay. Give you a hint. Starts with a verb. What's the first of our vision statement? What's the verb that it starts with? Connecting. Connecting God and grace to self and community. So the first thing that I like about this is it starts with a verb. Verb is action. Connecting God and grace to self and community. We do this to fulfill the mission of the United Methodist Church, which is also another statement. Who knows that? Who knows what the mission statement of the United Methodist Church is? Matt, put your hand down. You don't get to count. It is making disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. Making disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. We are and have been, we still are in a season of change. Change isn't easy. Change is hard. Sometimes people don't want to change. But I call your attention to the United Methodist mission statement, the last part of it, transformation of the world. Brothers and sisters, that's change. Brothers and sisters, we are called to be change agents in this world. I'm proud to be United Methodist, and I think we can now proudly claim another statement that we've used in the past: open hearts, open doors, open hearts, open minds, open doors. For Jesus commanded us to love God and love our neighbor. One of my favorite passages, and this one I'm reading out of the message. Well, I was going to read it out of it. My phone just got back. Talks about the greatest commandment. How does Jesus answer that? The greatest commandment is to love God with and love your neighbor as yourself. Y'all all pass. Y'all all pass. Thank you very much, class. So we finally have some slides up. Okay, good. So details of just kind of where we're at with what's been going on in the church council. We finally closed the sale of the land earlier this year, and that has done a couple things for us, one of which is it's gotten us out of a situation where our debt was really threatening our viability. And we are now at a point where we are much better shape for that. Doesn't put us, wasn't a panacea, doesn't put us into we're ever going to have to worry about anything anymore, but it was a step that we needed to take, and it was taken. Second on my slide is talking about the establishment and launching of a futurist team. You may or may not have heard this, but we have asked a group of laity, also Blair Thompson, who is from the Texas Methodist Foundation, to also help us take a look at what does church look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What do we need to do to be able to be ready for that situation? Again, we're in a season of change. Folks, I've been here 32 years, I think it is. We're a much different church than we were when I first started here, and we're going to be a much different church as we move forward because we have the mandate to make disciples of Christ for the transformation of the world. We're a part of that world. We're going to be changing too. The third thing on my slide is preparation and understanding of General Conference potential outcomes. So we as a council took a look at what was going to be going on in General Conference. Cammie's going to give us her update, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time in talking about those details, but we felt as an executive team for this church, we needed to have a real good understanding of that. So we've tried to tackle and be on top of that. We've started engaging and giving feedback to the Futurist team. So the Futurist team is working hand in hand with the church council to let us know what they're looking at, what ideas they're coming up with. Then once the General Conference was completed, we spent time disseminating and trying to understand what the outcome of General Conference means for us as a congregation. Beyond that, we've also prepared for and subsequently just recently had the annual conference at which the unification plan was presented to unify our North Texas Conference, the Central Texas Conference, and the Northwest Texas Conference. We'll probably be disseminating out some information about that. That plan is in place, but I'll give you some highlights right now in terms of dates. If I recall them correctly, and Matt or Cammie can correct me if I'm wrong, that there will be each of the conferences will approve the unification plan. We did so in the annual conference earlier this month. I believe the Central Texas Conference is meeting this week, I think. They will approve that plan, most likely. I would assume so. The Northwest Texas, once they've approved it, then it will go to the next higher level, which is jurisdictional conference. July timeframe. And if approved there, then there will be a unification conference held in September, September 28th, if I'm remembering correctly, in Abilene, at which time the three conferences will come together, vote on final approval of unifying as one conference. There are a lot of reasons that unification is happening. Some financial duplication advantages there of duplicating the conferences across the wide variety. The Northwest Texas Conference has had a lot of churches disaffiliate, so just as a number of churches being a conference unto themselves kind of doesn't make sense. So that's what's going on outside our local congregation. We'll also continuing to engage with and coordinate with the trustees, and I'm sure Nancy will speak more to this about the upcoming campus enhancements. So we all know there's some trailers, some storage containers out on one of our parking lots while we're in the process of getting a new maintenance building built. So that's part of what the change is going on here. We're going to have some local changes in terms of our campus, and we thank you for your indulgence of what is going to be great down the road, but be a little bit of pain until we get there. So I did want to share with what came out of the annual conference in terms of what the bishop's directive for the conference and the new unified conference, which is going to have the name of, I always get it wrong, is it Texas Horizon or Horizon Texas? Horizon Texas Conference will be our new name. There are 5 points that the bishop is having every congregation focus on in the upcoming year. One is to multiply Jesus followers. 2 is to champion children and youth, which I think we saw Vacation Bible Camp that's something that we're very good at. And with our mission trip, our youth mission trip now. Pursue and embrace diversity, maximize care and healing, and tell our story. We need to be better at telling our story. We need to be better at getting outside these walls and making sure that the community is aware of us and understands what is going on so that we can share, connect God and grace to both ourselves and our community. That's all I have. Later on, we're going to be doing questions, I think. So if there's anything that's a specific question, keep it in mind, and I'll be glad to answer it. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Zimmerman. I represent the Staff Pastor Parish Relations Committee, and since that's a mouthful, we usually just say SPRC. And since it doesn't always self-define itself, I thought I'd give you a little bit of information about what we do on a regular basis. One of our primary goals is to provide an avenue for discussion and conversation for the whole staff and clergy here at the church. We work to get to know the staff, we are a sounding board, and we look to help them grow in their roles. In addition, we work with you all in the congregation. If there is ever a need to have a liaison, to have a conversation, you don't really want to go talk to someone on staff yourself, we're here to help you with that. And then we also work with the district, if ever, just to give you an example, for example, if it's time for a clergy change, or there needs to be some things in our church done differently, we would provide feedback to the district for what our needs are here in this church. And then as we get closer, particularly to the latter half of the year, we spend quite an amount of time doing administrative work. So we look at job descriptions. You know, things do change. Kevin talked about that a lot. So if you think back just even 5 years ago, our needs for audio-visual were very different than they are now. We weren't streaming back then. So as the needs in the world and the needs in our church change, we look at our job descriptions to make sure that we don't need to morph some of those as well. We do performance appraisals every year, so we work with the staff to make sure that every employee gets an update on their performance and what they'd like to do and how they'd like to grow themselves for the year. Even Matt gets a very lengthy written performance appraisal every single year. And then we also make recommendations to finance for salary and benefits packages for each of our church staff. And just to give you a little bit of an update of what has happened so far this year, we have filled 2 open positions. If you've been in the office in the last couple of months, you may have met Liliana Pena, who joined us as an administrative assistant a couple of months ago. And just within the last 2 weeks, Patty Pachula joined us as the weekday program manager. We have 2 open positions now that we're working to fill, the modern worship leader position, and then as some of you may have heard today, Gail Landis has decided to take a much-deserved retirement, so we will have a minister of adult education position that we'll be working to fill. And then just going back to the beginning where I talked about one of our primary goals is building relationships and getting to know our staff. Each pairing, we change up the SPRC staff pairings every 1 to 2 years. So there's a get-to-know-you process. So lots of hours of conversation and coffees and lunches are had just to make sure that we're supportive and offer assistance for our staff in any way that they may need it. One of the fun things that we did this year that was just a thank you to tell our staff and clergy how much we appreciate everything that they do. We had a Mardi Gras lunch, and it was some good food, good fun, and we all learned more about Mardi Gras than we ever knew before. So that's just, I'm happy to answer questions when we get to that time, but I see Marty is here and Rick Ross, if you wouldn't mind standing for just a second. I think those are the only 2 other SPRC members that are here, but, oh, Judy, I'm sorry, Judy, I didn't see you back there. Okay, I missed Jane. Jane, to my credit, Jane is standing directly behind Marty and I can't see her, so, we have a few other members who couldn't be here today, but we're happy to answer questions when we get to that point also.
Good afternoon, church. How are y'all doing today? My name is Michelle Schrader, and I am the finance chair for this year. And I'm going to give you a quick snapshot and then be available for questions after I talk. For the month of May, our gifts and pledges were greater by $35,000 than budget, and our expenses were slightly over $4,000. As you can imagine, this is due mostly to the repairs that our over 20-year-old building requires. I know Kevin talked about the land sale, which was wonderful that it closed, and we were able to bring our debt balance down to $750,000, which is a lot less than it was. However, the money that we earn from that cannot be spent on our general operating budget. It is only available for capital funds. So your gifts and your pledges are still very, very important to the success and health of this church. Don't want you to forget that. And there's several ways you can do that now. We even have Zelle. Cash, check, recurring payments are always welcome, especially over the summer months where people aren't here as much. So while you're having fun, your church doesn't lose the income that we need to survive. Something we've done that's tied to the investment that we got, the investment money that we earned from the sale, is we have formed an investment subcommittee. And it's formed of 4 people, and they meet monthly to review the investment from the sale, as well as some other investment accounts that we have. So they are looking at those investments and their allocations monthly to see how we're earning, see how they're doing, and if we need to reallocate to make sure they're in safe investments but also earning money, because the money they earn is the money that we can spend in our general operating budget. Even though we're not allowed to touch that principal for anything other than capital expenditures, we are able to move the income earned into our general operating budget. So that investment subcommittee is the subcommittee of the finance committee. They make recommendations and report back to the finance committee. It's then discussed by the finance committee, and we vote on their recommendations and allocations. And those allocations can be changed every 30 days. So we're keeping a close eye on that. An additional thing we've done this year to keep an eye on our books is we've hired a CPA company called PSK LLP for a best practices engagement. So they're going to be looking over our books for the year of 2023 and reviewing our policies and procedures and making sure we're doing what we need to do to be in line with what the United Methodist Foundation requires. That will help us in the coming years as we go to do a full audit in either 24 or 25. They'll continue to do that best practices engagement until we do a full audit. And that will help when the auditors come in to review everything and make sure that everything is in order and in line with our requirements by the Texas Methodist Foundation. So that's all I have now, but I'll be available for questions after. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nancy Bowen. I'm chair of the trustees, and I was hoping that any member of trustees would please stand and be recognized. We have a great group. We have several who are not here, but the cohesiveness of this group is great. We started our work this year by signing a huge contract. That was so exciting, and I felt it was just an awesome experience. But then I started thinking about it, and I thought, oh my goodness, I rode in on the coattail of so many people who had done so much work to bring that project to life and to completion. So thank you to all of those people who put us in this position and helped us to take a look into the future and begin our work to get things changed in the physical structure of the church here. We divided our work into several subgroups so that we could kind of take a divide and conquer approach to the charge that we're given to maintain custodianship, if you will, of the building, the physical structure, the insurance contracts, those sorts of things that help to be sure that we provide the physical space to do the work of the church. We divided our group into building and grounds, with Preston Spugner working, leading that effort, making sure that we're coordinating with the landscaping and issues like that we'll be dealing with, particularly as we begin the parking lot project later on. Marty James is working with the equipment subgroup, and her big effort right now is working to develop an inventory of the church's equipment, and she will work in conjunction with Tay O, who is our property subgroup chairperson, to be sure that, because those kind of go together, property and equipment, and making sure that we have a really good accounting of the assets of our church. We have a finance subgroup with Stephanie Steestrom leading that effort, and she's working with the finance committee and coordinating efforts between our two groups. We have a security subgroup with Diedrich Fernandez and Andy Jones and Mark Flager. This group is a carryover from a subgroup that worked last year, developed a series of recommendations for enhancing security in our church. We know we've had a couple of incidents that are concerning, and we know the national news is gloomy, so we want to be sure that we're providing a safe environment for our staff who works here all through the week, as well as all the church members who come and participate in various activities throughout the week as well. So you will probably be seeing some changes as to access to the building. We want to be sure that everybody is welcomed into our church, but again, protecting the safety of those people who work here. We sometimes have staff here, maybe only one or two people who are here by themselves, and that can be a little frightening if you have a stranger who comes into the building that we don't really know who that person is. So that group, and you have heard the past 2 Sundays messages from Diedrich Fernandez regarding safety, and that will continue for the month of June, but you will see evidence of their work throughout our whole tenure. And then the construction subgroup is with Kevin Clanahan, Don Magnus, Michael Smith. We reached into the congregation to pull out people who have some expertise in helping develop contracts and that sort of thing as we work with these projects. The first one, the project that we're working on, first of all, we had to clear all the property that we purchased. Everything on that has to be, anything that belongs to the church had to be off of it. I think it was like March or April the 15th. I can't remember the exact date, but something like that. So the work really fell to the Yardbirds, and boy, they really worked hard to get all of their equipment. And that you see, you can go ahead with the slides, we're going to replace, go back one please, if you can, yeah. We're going to replace the Yardbird shed there. That's what we are going to replace, and we have solicited quotes, requests for quotes or bids to do that work. We know of one bid that is pending that we should expect it to come any day. The other two people that we submitted or asked to quote did not submit quotes. So that's where we are with that process. And go ahead with the slides. The placement of the new building will be at this location at the end of the gym. And so you can expect to see a little bit, maybe more disruption, I hate to even use that word, but change of parking status in that lot. But we are working really hard to save as many of the parking spaces as we can and yet provide access to that new maintenance structure. And also there's relocation of trash, recycle, that sort of thing that we have to take into consideration. Once this process, let's see the next couple of slides, you've already seen all the storage sheds. Those hold a lot of the equipment that was in that original maintenance shed. And then we have a fenced-in area that has even more stuff that we moved from the land that we purchased. One thing that I know the Yardbirds do a tremendous amount of work, but it really drives it home when you look at that property that has not been mowed since we sold it, and the rest of our property that looks so beautiful. So, good job, guys. The next step that we will take once we get the maintenance structure underway is the development of the parking plan for the reassignment of parking out front and that whole design of that process. Fortunately, our group who helped put this proposal into place was smart enough to ask for funds to do that from our purchaser. So we have $650,000 that it will be applied to that project. So good job, everybody. Yeah, if you have questions, I'll be here when we take questions. Thank you.
Good morning, afternoon. I'm Suzanne Babb. I'm co-chair with Allison Guild of the Missions Committee. Today I want to share with you some of the missions work that we do. As Kevin alluded to earlier in his talk, our website, our church's website, states that we are a community of diverse believers, and the bond that we have with one another is our relationship with Jesus Christ, always striving to connect God and grace to self and community. So my goal this morning is twofold. I want to provide you with an overview of all the opportunities for you to participate in our missions as a way of connecting God and grace to the community. And I also want to share with you some of the ways that our church has served our community over the past and most recently in 2024. As you stay there, please go back to the first slide. There are 6 pillars of our church's mission work: international, mental health, immigration, community, homeless, and education. Next slide, please. I want to talk more about each of these pillars in depth. My disclaimer is this overview is in no way comprehensive, and if I've had any oversights, they're not intentional. Our international branch of our missions starts with Reach Out Honduras. This amazing ministry was started in 2010 by Jim and Dee Parker's daughter and son-in-law, Laura and Alex Waits. Reach Out Honduras was formed to show the love of Christ through spiritual encouragement and physical provision in the remote La Mesquita region of Honduras. In that area, middle and high school are financially almost impossible for many families, so they can't afford the expenses of uniforms, books, school supplies, and exams. Thus, the Abundant Life Institute was created by Reach Out Honduras. It's a Christian middle and high school for grades 7 through 12. ALI provides 2 meals each school day, school supplies, and uniforms. Often, these 2 meals are the only food that these children have. You can help by sponsoring a student for $60 a month or either individually or as a Sunday school class. Also be looking for advertisement. We're going to be helping Reach Out Honduras with a yard sale, a garage sale that they'll be doing. The second part of the international pillar is Send Hope. It was founded by Dr. Tom and Sharon Bryan, who are members of FUMC Plano. Send Hope supports the community in Puerto Lempiras, which is where ROH is located. They do this support in many ways, one of which is working very closely with Kids Against Hunger to package and distribute rice that contains 21 vitamins and minerals to fortify and strengthen malnourished bodies. We're going to be having a meal packing event June 30th here in our church. That's a way that's upcoming for you to participate. The second pillar is mental health. Wellspring Counseling Center first began as a ministry of our church in 2014. They provide affordable mental health services to support individuals and families in our community. Their website states that they've served 908 clients between 2015 and 2023 for almost 6,000 hours, and 74% of those counseling hours were provided at supplemented rates, meaning the client could not pay the full cost. We today celebrated their 10-year anniversary. We, as a church, support that mission. Journey of Hope is another part of the mental health pillar. It's a grief support group whose mission is to renew hope, foster healing, and develop resilience in the hearts of children and their family who are grieving the death of a loved one. The groups meet regularly to support families who are grieving the death of a loved one. Our involvement is that we host the meetings twice a month. Those meetings begin with a fellowship meal that is provided by volunteer organizations or Sunday school classes. You can sign up with your Sunday school or a small group to provide one of those meals and to interact with those people. Third pillar is immigration. Light of Hope Immigration Law Center advocates, educates, and serves low-income immigrant families in securing U.S. legal status. They do this by providing low-cost or pro bono legal services, citizenship preparatory classes, and more. We sponsor individuals who are part of this program. Another part of the immigration pillar is Church World Services. I know it's a lot, but you need to know about all the wonderful things we're doing and how you can participate. Church World Services' vision is a world where everyone has food, voice, and a safe place to call home. They do this in many ways, but our connection primarily is that we are on a standby list to assist refugees arriving in DFW. Collin Adult Education Literacy Service, Collin County with English as a second language, high school equivalency, and career path classes that give students a bridge to higher education. We are currently hosting those classes here in our church. Our fourth pillar is community. Carter Blood Drive provides life-saving transfusion resources to more than 200 medical facilities in over 50 counties throughout North, Central, and East Texas. Each year, they provide more than 400,000 units of blood products to meet patients' treatment requirements. We host blood drives events 4 times a year right here at our church to make it easy for you to donate, and all of our donations are used in our local community. PX Military, FUMC Plano PX collects snacks and toiletries for U.S. troops stationed outside of the U.S. The need is high because local PXs are closing as troops withdraw, leaving those still on the ground with few options. We collect items, we also collect financial donations, package them, and ship those to our troops. Plano Helpers, sorry for the misspelling, is a faith-based handyman program of seniors helping other seniors with minor home maintenance and repairs. They typically help seniors age 60 or older and disabled clients with a Plano address or residing in the PISD district. If you qualify, you can volunteer. Quilts for Kids is a group of sewers, knitters, and crocheters who make and donate quilts, hats, and throws to hospitals and clinics for the children that are being treated. They meet twice a month, and they welcome donations of fabric, supplies, and always new members. Excuse me. City of Plano Shredding and Recycling. We host the city's shredding and recycling on the first Saturday of each month from 9 to noon. Volunteers collect computer-related equipment, printers, audio and video equipment, cell phones, TVs that people bring to recycle. People can also bring paper to have it shred. You can volunteer to help with these collections. Trusted World was established to help resolve situational poverty by providing a more effective donation process. They provide clothing, food, and personal care items so people and organizations working with those who are facing situational poverty can focus on their core mission and not spend time trying to find those much needed resources. You can see those Trusted World donation bins near our church doors. Please feel free to donate. Mission Together is a planned church event that we plan to give our members opportunities to work together in our community. Not only does this help our community, but it builds bonds with our church as our people work together. Yard sale. Twice a year, FUMC Plano hosts a community yard sale. We sell spaces in our parking lot to local vendors who come and set up their items, and members of the community come by to shop. This event is a fundraiser for our missions, which helps us provide some financial support to some of our mission partners. Mission Market. This market is for global nonprofit organizations that lift up people in poverty or special needs. Again, it's global, and at least 50% of the proceeds from the vendors has to go back directly to the community. It's an annual event held in the late fall, early December, and volunteers are always welcome. Gardeners for God's People we do this in partnership with the Community Unitarian Universalist Church, just down the street, whereby food is grown or raised in partnership with others in faith and then is donated to God's Pantry. Our local involvement here in our church has grown from having 1 plot to 3, and our BBC children just planted starter seeds of green beans and black-eyed peas. Gardeners of any age are always welcome. Assistance Center of Collin County helps with emergency housing assistance. This is the first place we send people who come to our church for housing assistance. We provide them with financial assistance. Our 5th pillar of our missions is homelessness. People Who Love People is a faith-based group of people who come together to share a meal with homeless people and workers near the Day Labor Center every Monday and Thursday morning. We provide hot breakfast along with manna bags and sandwiches for lunch, and we help connect people to services within our community. You can provide items for breakfast or manna bags. You can also help assemble those manna bags. You can go and help share the meal Monday or Thursday. God's Pantry provides foods for those in need. These volunteers distribute tens of thousands of pounds of donated food each month. They're also opening a resale shop to further assist clients. Our church has provided both food collection, food distribution, and with the preparation of the space and setting up of the resale shop. Vision 2020 was started as a way to assist those who are homeless by getting 20 volunteers together one Sunday each month to spend 20 minutes of manna bags. We provide these manna bags both to our friends at People Who Love People, which we've already talked about, and Hope Restored. We always need people to come. If you've seen them setting up in the gathering area, you know how organized and how efficient that process is. Family Promise provides shelter, case management, support groups, counseling, financial accountability, and mentoring to families experiencing homelessness so that they can attain sustainable independence. They've recently created permanent facilities for families in the programs. Prior, the families had to move week by week to different locations. Our church was one of those host locations. Now, there are 2 permanent facilities in Lucas and Saxe, so these families don't have to move any longer. And we help by donating meals, gas cards, and gift cards. There'll be more information about providing meals at these locations coming soon. Watch for it, please. Plano Overnight Warming Station. POWS provides a secure, safe, overnight sleeping environment for those in the greatest needs when temperatures fall below. There are several ways that you can help by volunteering in POWS. Samaritan Inn is more than just a place to spend the night. The program takes a holistic approach that supports those experiencing homelessness with everything they need and teaches them life skills to expedite their journey back to self-sufficiency. On any given night, approximately 160 people sleep in the inn, of which 1 out of 3 are children. Our church often refers families to both the Samaritan Inn, Hope Restored Mission provides case management, job placement, ID procurement, community resource referral, and other services to those facing housing insecurity in downtown Plano. We provide manna bags. Loads of Love is a new mission opportunity where we provide quarters, detergent, love, and light snacks to members of our community who are in need of laundry services. We have an upcoming opportunity to volunteer in a few weeks. We will be doing this on a regular basis. And then our final pillar of our missions is Kids Hope Mentoring, whereby we provide mentoring to Dooley Memorial Schools, as well as providing teachers with support. Okay, now I've given you a big picture of our missions. I'd like to highlight some of the accomplishments for 2024. Can you back up one? One more, sorry. Thank you. Yes. Mental health. We provide financial support to Wellsprings. We also supported their recent, very successful Tacos, Tamales, Trivia y Mas in March. You have an opportunity to learn more today. We celebrated their 10th anniversary. It's a very important mission. Journey of Hope. As I mentioned, we've overseen the kitchen as groups provided meals. You and your Sunday school class can volunteer. Immigration. Light of Hope Immigration. We are currently working with 5 individuals in their immigration process to connect them with community partners. Church World Services. Just 3 weeks ago, members of our church greeted 16 refugees. 1 member prepared culturally appropriate meals, while 2 others transported the newcomers to their new homes using our weekday program buses. Community accomplishments. Carter Blood Drive. We've had 2 so far, and with the last one, which was just a few weeks ago, we actually doubled our participation by bringing it back into the chapel. Mission Together. We hosted our church-wide event this past April 7th. We did the following. We started the Loaves of Love, whereby we assisted homeless people doing laundry. Family of Promise, we had a team that worked in the new Saxe facility to get ready to host families. Again, allowing them to stay in one place during their involvement in the program and not having to move around. We are going to be learning very soon how we can provide ongoing support by serving meals. We had a team chalking sidewalks outside the schools, we painted rocks, and we had a team at God's Pantry bagging food items. I encourage you to continue to provide food. Look at the expiration date and consider how that food that you're donating could be used. There's only so much canned pumpkin that can go around. PX Military, we've already sent 2 shipments this year. We shipped 10 boxes in February and another 12 this past month. They always are looking for those donation items. Quilts for Kids, so far, this group has made over 100 quilts. Again, they're always looking for new sewers, knitters, and crocheters. The City of Plano Shredding and Recycling, we have hosted 2 events this year, and in fact, something you need to know, we were recognized in 2023 as receiving the most recycling collections for all the other sites. We had a yard sale on our first of this year on April 27th, and it was a success even though we had very stormy weather forecasts. We had approximately 26 vendors, and we raised $1,000 to go towards helping our missions partners. Journey of Hope, we've provided meals twice a month to an average of 50 to 60 people prior to their grief support. Next slide. Homeless, people who love people. We've provided 2,200 boiled eggs, 400 hot breakfast burritos, 600 bananas, oranges, and cheese sticks, along with the manna bags. God's Pantry, we are assisting them financially. We've donated perishable and non-perishable items. Earlier in March, we collected $250 of spare change. And again, we've worked to help set up their resale shop. Hope Restored Missions, we financially support them and provide them with manna bags. Plano Overnight Warming Station, our team served 3 times this past winter. Vision 2020, I've mentioned the manna bags in connection with the groups, but as a total, we've provided over 1,000 manna bags for people who love people and Hope Restored. It's every 3rd Sunday in the gathering area. And education, 22 of our members serve as mentors through Kids Hope Mentoring to kids in Memorial and Dooley. We've provided teacher appreciation parties for those teachers in Memorial, Dooley, and Hickey, and we also provided year-end treats for our very own weekday program. Last slide, please. I know, I'm almost done. Thank you for your patience. Here are some upcoming ways that you can plug into missions. Send Hope Meal Packing is on June 30th. Loads of Love, we have 3 upcoming dates. Watch your calendars. You can always provide items for the manna bags and help prepare them the 3rd Sunday. Watch for an upcoming scheduled discussion about an adult mission trip, as well as information for an upcoming golf tournament. And the funds raised from that will be used to support missions. If you have an idea for a need that hasn't been addressed, please reach out to either Stacy Spears, myself, or Allison Gild. I want to leave you with this challenge. As a member of this community of diverse believers, how can you strengthen the Christian bond that you have with others in this church by participating in our mission to connect God and grace to yourself and your community?
Good afternoon, I'm Cammie Gaston, and I'm glad to be with you all today. First thing I want to say is I love First United Methodist Church of Plano, and if you do too, yes. Thank you so much, all of you all, for your service and the many ways that you lead the church. And I think I'm exhausted after going through every single thing we do in the community to make the world a better place. But as they say out in the community about Methodist, we do things. and we make a difference in the world. And so for that, I'm very, very grateful. So behind me, you will see a list of those persons who were voted in 2019 to be the delegates to General Conference in 2020. And we just had our General Conference, as you know. We are the longest serving delegation of 5 years as we waited and prepared and made our way to General Conference. In the North Texas Conference, there are 4 General Conference representatives that are clergy, 4 that are laity. Then we have the same amount for jurisdictional conference who are added into the group, as well as those who are alternates. And everyone went to General Conference that was held in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm going to go fairly quickly, but I want to make sure I cover most things. Before you is I think you all got a handout. If you did not, we'll make some more copies. I'm not going to go through that handout. I wanted you to have it so that you could read more, so that you could go online and even read in a more of a depth if you'd like to have your answers to some of your questions. Because I really think that the United Methodist News.org did a very good job of following the General Conference and all of the details of the things that were passed. But this particular handout gives you the highlights of what happened this time at General Conference. Go to the next slide. If you came to my presentation before I left, you heard me say that my calling to ministry came from a World Methodist Youth Conference in Truro, England, where I learned about John Wesley and then saw the beautiful array of people all over the world that had claimed United Methodism as the way they wanted to live out their faith. And it inspired me. And as I said at that gathering, I was very excited to have come full circle as someone who has retired and sat in worship and been present taking communion with and spent time having dialogue with people from all over the world. This particular group are the delegates from the North Texas Conference, the Central Texas Conference, and the Northwest Texas Conference. And we just so happened to all be sitting all together and be able to have conversations during the 2-week period of time that I was in North Carolina at Charlotte with the General Conference. You can move to the next slide. It is a picture of where we have annual conferences all over the world. And you can see that it goes from the United States all the way to the Philippines, where we are well represented in the Philippines as United Methodist. And a highlight for me in this experience was spending one evening with the Filipino delegation as they shared the exciting things that are going on in the church in the Philippines. And so it was not just sitting around, it was a lot of that, sitting around and doing legislative work, but it was also a fellowship time, a celebration time, a worship time, and a very powerful, faithful experience of people gathered as United Methodist Christians. So that's where they came from. As I said in my original time with you all, some of you I'm sure were there, you can move to the next slide, there were 3 R's that we had discussed across the world, actually, not just in the United States, of things that we felt like were important for such a time as this in our church. And so the first one was the removal of the homosexual language, and that particular legislative item passed at 93%. This was an important piece for us to, we felt, to move forward as an inclusive church, a church that continued to use that motto that we just heard about open hearts, open minds, open doors, and actually be the kind of grace-filled church that we had always hoped we could be. So that was the first, that's 93%. The second was the revised social principles. This was a very important piece because the social principles ended up, it has historically been something that the United States has led. This is our social way that we live in the world and we live out our faith. The social principles, we sat down as people from all over the world, and we had representatives from what we call the central conferences, which would be the conferences that are non-United States conferences, and we had persons who gathered people for the connectional table. So that's the people from the United States Central Conferences who are representatives, and they put together the social principles that would reflect a worldwide statement of concerns that were across the world as opposed to mostly in the United States. This was our effort to be an inclusive church that really listened to the voices of people globally in our denomination. And when that came up for a vote, it was 76% voted for it, and so it passed. These social principles will take effect on January 1st, 2025, and are available now as we revise them, the revision of the revision, online. And I would like to be able to make those available on our portal, on our website, so you all can have them for study in your Sunday school classes or just personally. The third one is regionalization. And at this point, we spent quite a bit of time talking about regionalization, why this might be something that's very important to the church. And the basic thing is we were trying to really reflect and give voice to context of ministry along. So that would be what it's like to be in ministry in the United States, what it's like to be in ministry in Africa, what it's like to be in ministry. And Africa is a very diverse place. As I found out at this event, we were translating into at least 4 I think it was, languages: Swahili, Portuguese, French, and I'm trying to remember what the last one was. But the bottom line is, this is a very diverse group of people that gather. So regionalization would allow for contextual ministries to happen, for the regions to gather, and then to have one general conference that would bring all the regions together. And this was passed by 78%, and it was seen to be a very important pivot to how we do ministry, so that we can be in ministry and mission together with things that are important for us as people that do United Methodist ministry. So there's on the handout, there is a regionalization petition approved, and said a little bit about that. I also want to add that we did some things that probably are not going to be things that you would experience on a regular basis, but they are experiences of our annual conference. We've given sacramental authority to the deacons. We saw that as an important aspect when John Wesley says, offer the means of grace to as many people as possible, as often as you can. The ways that came out was we have so many deacons who serve in our conference, who live and work in extension ministry kinds of settings, and we wanted to be able to allow for deacons to be able to extend the table. We say we have an open table. We want that to be something that extends in ways that are powerful to people that might not walk into a local church. And so we extended that. We adopted the Book of Resolutions. This is something that was necessary because it had expired, because it comes up every, I believe it's 8 years, and we had passed that period of time. So we extended and adopted the Book of Resolutions, which are resolutions that the United Methodist Church says we will support. They are not binding, but they are stances that are made by the General Conference on social issues. And you can look at the Book of Resolutions in order to learn a little bit more about the details of those. The next one was disaffiliation. We did not keep in the short-term provisions for disaffiliation, and we're defaulting back to the practices that are found in the Book of Discipline for those who would like to not be a United Methodist Church any longer. So we have a process for that with your district superintendent and the conference to be able to do that for those who feel like they do not want to be United Methodist any longer. The thing that I do want to note is we did put in provisions for those that might want to return. So we've had some interesting things happen after disaffiliations, which is persons who have then called the conference office and said, well, we need a pastor. Well, if you're not a part of our conference any longer, then we do not provide you with a pastor. And you don't realize until you've been in the United Methodist Church a long time all the things that are provided for you, including a pastor. So we found that it was important to allow for avenues for returning. So that's been put into the Book of Discipline. Ecumenical relationships were ones that we really celebrated, and if you've heard the story of how John Wesley was touched by the Moravians, the Moravian Church, on his way back to England, you will remember that name, the Moravians, and they were present, and we have moved into, we had voted to be in full connection with the Moravian Church, along with the Episcopal Church. The Episcopal Church will meet in their session like we have and vote if they would like to be a part of us. And so that'll be coming in the future, but we have supported that and we have been working with them all along. So it's been a pretty good partnership of being in ministry together. And then I have a slide, and it's pretty small, but I wanted just to put, so you're aware, a couple things about regionalization. We have representatives, and I want to thank the representatives who were at annual conference. Keith was one of those. David Boatfield was there. Joyce Craig, who I just happened to be related to, was there. Who else was sitting with us? Jill was sitting with us. There she is. And who else was that? And Tim Hobson, yes. And Tim Hobson will be our new district lay leader for the North Central District. We will be voting next year on regionalization in our conference. This is something that has to be ratified by the members of the annual conferences. And I just wanted you to be aware of the kinds of things that regionalization does. I mentioned a few, but equity between the regions, where the focus is to decolonize our mission and relationships so that there's a lot more equality and voice, respect for context of ministry, agency that people would have to be able to do the work of the church. And I just listed them there so that you could see some of the reasons why we are supportive of the regionalization as a move toward a structure in the United Methodist Church. And then the last slide I have is a money slide. I thought you might appreciate that one, Michelle. We voted to have a 40% reduction in our apportioned dollars for the general conference. And this was overwhelmingly supported. We felt as though we could do the ministry that we needed to do at the general conference level as well as the local level if we really pushed to lower our budget so that could put more monies back into the local churches and the local conferences. So this was supported, and I just simply wanted to say I think that's going to be a positive thing for the work of the church in the local setting. So those are the main things that I wanted to lift up to you all. I am available to have personal conversations for persons that would like to have that. I'm happy to for you to take me to lunch or just have coffee. I am not acting and have not been acting very retired, but I would like to be acting retired. And my garden is going great. I know you wanted to know that. So I'm ready to work a little bit on that. But that's my report. And I just want to say how honored I am to be both a representative of this First United Methodist Church of Plano, as well as the North Texas Conference, which is a very healthy conference, and a part of what I think is just a beautiful spirit of working together at this last general conference. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all. At this time, we'd like to open it up to the congregation that's here and as well as those on the live stream for questions. We have a microphone set up here down the center aisle. So if you have a question, we'll give you a couple minutes to come down and speak up at this time.
It's on. Are missions still self-funded? Do you get any funding from the church?
Stacy, I'm going to defer to you.
Yes, all of our money, the bulk of our money still comes from the Plano Food Festival. However, we are working on introducing a new golf tournament that's going to help also offset the money. But yes, the bulk of our donations, unless you specifically write a check and put submissions on there, the bulk of our money comes from the Plano Food Festival, the yard sale,
Got my answer. If we're a church that focuses on mission, we should really be helping fund the mission committee. They do amazing, amazing things. We should be supporting that more.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else? All your questions were answered. That's a good thing. I'd like to just say once again, maybe not, Rick?
So when the three conferences combine, is that going to be one bishop for that whole group?
Yeah, Bishop Sines will continue to be the bishop of those three conferences. Can you hear me? The Central Texas. Testing.
You just use this one.
Okay. The Central Texas Conference and the Northwest Texas Conference lost a lot of churches. And so we did not. So the bottom line is he will be overseeing all three conferences. Yes.
Will the districts remain the same?
Yes. Okay. At this point, the districts are going to be remaining the same. The North Central District is intact particularly, and the East District and the Northwest District, we just found out, will be overseen by one district superintendent. Yeah. Thank you for asking that question, Rick.
Thank you, Rick. Anyone else? No? Once again, I'd like to thank the committee chairs for their time today. Not only these people, but also the people that serve on their committees. There's a lot of work being done here and a lot more work to do. And once again, we thank them for their efforts. I would just like to close this with, coming out of annual conference, the theme was Mission Possible, and it stuck in my mind the entire week. So I thought, what a better way to close today than with the Bible verse from Matthew chapter 26. Jesus looked at them and said, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Amen.